I'm in that snow you see in the background there. That's Olympic Park, Calgary, Alberta. That's the snow. That snow you see there is artificial. It is now springtime in Alberta. I'm about to do a Dear Diary episode. I'm at Crowfoot on a little hill here, overlooking a very wealthy neighborhood where the millionaires live. And these poorly constructed, over-expensive houses. So it was time, I woke up one morning and I decided, this bed has been empty way too long. And, just like your life, comes a point when you need that companion. It's time to stop fooling around and get serious with the relationship. And in the past, I've had many relationships with white women, and I tried to form a girlfriend-boyfriend relationship with approximately, and I counted it, 24 different white women. And each and every time, no exaggeration, I don't know why it happened, but just as I'm about to get into the relationship or try to form a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship with a white girl, she would suddenly come into this fortune and have to travel hundreds or thousands of miles or kilometers, depending on what country you're in, to enjoy that opportunity, and she would have to leave me, or suddenly a boyfriend would come out of nowhere, somebody that she could be with, and I would lose this girl completely. And that happened 24 times before I finally quit. And the black women, it was there was always some guy that they were keeping secret in the background, and that never worked out. But when I reached St. Mary's to start my search for Mrs. Awesome, or it depends, and if a girl wanted to get married or not, I'm personally, I really don't care if I get married or not. It's that's completely up to her. Marriage to me is just a ceremony, and it's a big party for your friends. It doesn't mean anything else to me. But you can, you don't have to go through that ceremony to be in a complete commitment to the person that you're with. You just, you make your vows on your own. You don't need thousands of people or hundreds of people standing there watching you do it. So I'm neutral on the subject, but getting back to the story, I went to St. Mary's with the full intention of finding a girlfriend, but I did not know if she should be white or Asian or maybe black. I'm not sure. But I was hoping it would be an Asian girl. Speaking of Asian girls, there's one walking towards me now. Anyway, previous to that, I did try to meet a girl by the name of Cassandra, who later became a Dehazi student. But she was just so young, there was no way. And another girl was a Japanese girl I met in a library. She tried to form a relationship with me, but she was so nervous about it that eventually she just ran away from it. Man, that girl's cute. Distractions. The west of Canada is the place you want to be for women, I'm telling you. So I had decided that, first of all, I was going to pick a university that had the most Asian female population in it. And it definitely was not Dalhousie. St. Mary's University had a TESOL Center, an English language learning center. And it had promoted itself as having a very high Asian community. So based on that, and that alone, I chose to go to St. Mary's instead of Dalhousie or any other university. And I would start my search there, but I still wasn't sure if she should be white or Asian or black. So I arrived at my apartment, started moving my stuff in. It was 1998, 12 years ago. And one night, I think it was the 3rd, I was emptying my car, the 3rd of September. And it was at night, about 10 o'clock or 10:30, and I heard this loud badoom thrash. And I was living down by the Rotary. That's where I was moving in, the Halifax Armdale Rotary, unpacking when I heard that loud sound, and it sounded exactly like 2 dump trucks smashing into each other. And then 2 seconds later, the gravel on both dump trucks shifting. Which is all I could think about. What could have made such a loud sound? And that sound remains in my head to this day, because what I had discovered when I turned on the television set at my friend's place was that a Swiss Air flight from the United States had gotten in trouble above Nova Scotia, and it was actually on fire and had crashed into the ocean off Peggy's Cove, which I believe was in American measurement 25 miles away. But the sound of the crash was so loud that it sounded like it just came from maybe, using American measurement, a quarter of a mile away. And it was the sound, which I'll never forget to this day, of around 200, just over 230 people being slammed in the ocean at night, a moonless night, and being completely shredded. Because the next day I went out to Peggy's Cove that way, and it was so horrendous that pieces of the people on the plane were washing up ashore, and they were the size maybe about this square. The plane had completely shredded their bodies, and the fishermen that had gone out that night searching for the survivors needed counseling and psychiatric help afterwards, because of the horrors of what they saw and the horrors of what they were lifting out of that sea that night. And what had happened was the wiring on top of the wiring in an aircraft is in the ceiling, and it was all cracked, and condensation occurred above the wiring, and the condensation had dripped down on top of the wiring and caused a short circuit that was hotter than the interior of the sun, and it melted and set on fire the insulation inside, the wiring insulation inside the aircraft. So the entire ceiling of that plane was on fire. Smoke was filling up in the plane. They lost all their electricity. The plane was being flown manually by the co-pilot because the pilot was not in his seat at the time. He had gotten up for some reason. They think maybe he had succumbed to the smoke and died. And the co-pilot was left to fly a plane on a moonless night above the sea, above the ocean, with no communication, no electricity, no lights or anything. He could not judge where the ocean was. And he was flying the plane in a circular pattern. And that's all he could do, at an angle. And he did not realize, because he couldn't tell from the instruments, that he was slowly descending into the ocean. And when the wing hit the ocean, it flipped the plane forward. And it just tore that plane. That plane hit that ocean at about, in American measurement, it hit the ocean about 375 miles an hour. And just tore, it just shredded into pieces like you wouldn't believe. But the sound, that sound is still on my mind. I still hear it. And I still remember what I saw. And that's how my education began at St. Mary's that night. So I arrived at school and I started searching. And I was trying to get my classes so that I was in a class with an Asian girl. And there was one girl, she was so short, she must have been about 4'11", I guess. In my English class. And I was very attracted to her because I like short girls. But never hooked up to her. Never hooked up with her. But I did meet one girl, she was Vietnamese. And that's what the next episode will be about.